Pavel Kashin. On July 6, 2013, Pavel Kashin climbed to a rooftop in St. Petersburg, Russia. He was 24 years old and one of Russia's most well-known freerunners. He had spent years perfecting his craft. Parkour was his life. Kashin specialized in urban acrobatics. He could flip, vault, and leap across city obstacles with precision. His videos showed him running across rooftops, jumping between buildings, and performing backflips on narrow surfaces. Everything looked effortless. He made it look easy. That afternoon, Kashin stood on the edge of a 16-story building. A small group of friends and fellow tresseurs watched from a safe distance. They had seen him do this move before. It was one of his signature stunts, a standing backflip on the roof's edge. The technique required perfect balance and timing. Plant both feet, spring backward, rotate in the air, land solidly on the same spot. Any miscalculation meant disaster. Kashin positioned himself carefully. His toes were inches from the edge. He could see the drop behind him, 16 stories straight down. He had practiced this move hundreds of times on ground level. He had done it on rooftops before. He knew he could do it again. He bent his knees and sprung backward. His body rotated through the air. The backflip was clean. But when he came down, his footing was off by inches. One foot landed on the edge. The other foot landed on nothing. His balance shifted. He tried to restore balance, but his arms windmilled. For a split second, it looked like he might recover, but he fell backward, nearly 200 feet off the building. Witnesses watched in horror as Kashin dropped 16 stories without any way to stop himself. He died on impact. Yuri Eliseev. On November 8, 2016, Yuri Eliseev's life took an unexpected turn at his apartment in Moscow, Russia. He was 20 years old and a chess grandmaster. He had won the World Under-16 Chess Championship in 2012. His entire young life was defined by chess. But Eliseev developed a new hobby, parkour. He enjoyed the physical challenge after spending so much time sitting at chessboards. That evening, Eliseev stood on his apartment balcony on the 12th floor. His girlfriend was inside the apartment. They had been together for a while. She knew about his parkour interest. She had seen him practice moves before, but he was not an experienced tresseur. He was still learning. Eliseev decided to attempt a parkour move on the balcony railing. He stepped up onto the railing and tried to execute the move. Suddenly, he lost his balance. His foot slipped and he fell from the balcony. His girlfriend heard the commotion. She rushed outside, but Yuri was gone. She looked over the edge and saw him far below. She called emergency services immediately. By the time paramedics arrived, there was nothing they could do. Yuri Eliseev was pronounced dead at the scene. AF. In March 2019, a 17-year-old Russian teenager arrived in Ankara, Turkey. He was visiting from Russia. His name was reported only as AF in Turkish media. He was interested in parkour and urban exploration. Ankara's skyline offered plenty of buildings to explore, high rises, rooftops, places where a young tresseur could test his skills away from home. AF had done parkour in Russia. He felt confident in his abilities. That day, AF climbed to the roof of a 7-story building. Another rooftop sat nearby. The gap between buildings was not enormous, maybe 8 to 10 feet. For an experienced tresseur, this was a routine jump. Run, leap, land, roll. Simple. AF stood on the edge of the first building. He looked across the gap. The other rooftop was at roughly the same height, maybe slightly lower. The distance looked manageable. He backed up to get a running start. He took several deep breaths. Then he sprinted toward the edge. He was flying across the gap between buildings, but he did not make it. His trajectory fell short. Instead of landing on the other rooftop, he dropped into the gap between the buildings. He fell 7 stories down into the narrow space. People on the street heard the impact and called emergency services. Paramedics arrived and found AF in the alley between buildings, but he was already dead.